How would you like to qualify at the top of the timesheets and run up front in your heat races and feature in the 410s at Knoxville? Well, if you would like to do that, then you're in the right place, and I want you to stick around because in this video, I'm going to be showing you exactly how to do that and the setups that I use to do so. So, all of that's coming up right after this. What's up, everybody? Thomas Brandon here. Welcome to another School of Sim Racing video. Now, if this is your first time joining me, welcome. And what we do here is typically I look at ways to help you get faster on the dirt tracks here in iRacing. And today we're taking a look at the 410 sprint cars at Knoxville. Now, we're in week 1 of season 3, and this is actually a new thing that I'm doing that will be exclusive for, insiders in my program. Now, this first week, I'm putting out all these videos and I'm doing it for free just to kind of let people see and get an idea as to what it is. But starting next week, if you want this stuff, you'll have to pay for it. Now, it's going to be $2 a month. It's nothing that's going to break the bank. It's basically a half a cup of coffee if you go to like Starbucks. But we are living in some pretty, crazy times right now. And so, I don't know, $2 a month, people might not want to spend that, which is fine. And if you don't, we still got a ton of free stuff along with my old setups and things like that from the previous season that you can get for free at the School of Sim Racing. Okay, but enough about that. Let's dive in and take a look at what we're going to be doing here. So I've already turned a lap and I did 15-1 with my qualifying setup. Now I'm going to walk you through the qualifying setup. This setup will be available for you to download. It'll be down in the description below. All right, so you can have this setup for free along with the setup for the feature race. Okay. Now this setup is pretty straightforward. Those of you who've been following me a while, and you remember the setups I did last season, the new stuff that I've been doing is a little bit different now, particularly with things like stagger, bars, ride height. There's quite a few changes. Now, at Knoxville, we're running 14 inches of stagger. The main reason is when we get to these bigger half-mile tracks, you want to be wide open and just keeping the car as straight as possible. You want the car to do as much turning on its own that it can. You don't want to have to be putting wheel into it. When I do the qualifying run here in just a second, you're going to notice that I'm turning the wheel like that much. I mean, we're talking like 3 degrees. It's very, very minor. And it's because of the stagger that I run in. That helps us keep the car straight and keep it fast, right? That any sudden movements or having to put too much wheel into it is going to scrub speed. And when you're at a track like Knoxville, even just 1/10 of a second could make you drop from, potential front row starting position in your heat race to starting in the 3rd row. And that's a big deal when you're running these cars. Okay, so 14 inches of stagger. Chassis. Obviously, 3 gallons of fuel, and we've got 486 gear. You're going to find with these 410s, you're going to be running a 486 gear at pretty much most tracks. There's a few exceptions where you'll have, a little bit shorter gear, but for the most part, you're running a 486. We've got the nose wing flat. We've got the top wing flat all the way forward. We want absolutely no drag right now. Now, on our front end, we've still got it jacked all the way up. You can actually adjust this right front torsion bar stop if you want. It's not going to hurt your time any. It's just going to affect your cross weight. So it's really just kind of a, driver preference setting. We have 10 1/4 bars on the right side with thousands on the left. And then we've got ourselves, 5/4 shock, 4/5 shock, 3/9 shock, and then a 6/4.5 shock. Wheel spacings at 18 and 13.5. Now our ride heights are at 1436 and 1263. So a little bit lower than what we were running last season, but as the track slicks off, we'll actually raise it back up. So let's go out and let's turn a couple laps. See if we can't match the time that we just did. Now you can see down in the bottom there where it says 15.187. See how it's purple? That's because that was literally like my fastest lap I've ever turned here at Knoxville. So this setup is really fast. It works well. Now when you've got only 3 gallons of gas on these bigger tracks, you know, make sure that you kind of ease into the throttle. You don't want to risk running out of fuel. That's like one of the worst things that can happen is running out of gas. And I'm going to actually get rid of this. I don't want that on the screen. All right, so let's lay down a couple of laps. So first lap, we're going to actually go kind of around the middle. And the reason I do that is I try to get in a lap, a decent lap, and then I try to be more aggressive on the next one. So now that I've got a lap in, now I can really try to get this down. You can see right there, I hit the slick. See if I can do one more here. If there's slick on the track, you want to go around it and then work yourself down. Like that. And then keep it straight. And if you do that, you should be fast. Now let's see what we turn for our lap times. Laps. 15.154. So that last lap was actually the fastest lap I've ever turned here at Knoxville. Now we're on a 10% track. And we've got pretty cool temperatures. The humidity's almost 60%. We've got some cool temperatures. So, you know, if you can turn a 15.1, you're going to be up towards the front. If you go back and look at some of the past, you know, races that they've already done at Knoxville, 15.1 is going to get you pole, you know, fast time in quite a few sessions. Now, some of the top splits where it's like 3,000, 3,500, where you have legit pros, you know, the Wenzels, Simmelmans, Heilmans of the world that are running these cars. Those guys can actually do, I've seen times with them where it's like 14.9, 15 flat, like they're super fast. But 85% of the people you're going to be racing against, if you can do 15.1s, you're going to be good to go. Okay, you're going to be good. So now that we've got qualifying out the way, the next question is, what do we do for the heat race? Well, let's actually hop into the garage and I'm going to show you right now. So when it comes to setting up your car for the heat race, you're really just trying to stay ahead of the track. The track's going to change some from qualifying to the heat race, but it's not going to be as drastic as it is when you go from, let's say, you know, the heat race to the consolation or the consolation to the main, right? And so you're going to have some track changes, but it's not going to be a ton. Now, the main thing is pay attention to how the car felt in qualifying. If the car was too loose, then you don't want to just stay ahead of the track. You want to actually tighten it up a little bit more. Now, we still want to try to get through the race with the wing all the way forward. We don't want to move that wing back. We really don't want to touch the wing until the feature and when it's like super slick. Other than that, we just want to leave that thing flat and forward, okay? So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take out a 1/2 inch of stagger. Now, a 1/2 inch of stagger is not much, but it'll definitely help us stay ahead of the track. Next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to actually move my right rear end 1/4 inch. Now, that's not a big move, and the reason why I'm only doing 1/4 inch is because I'm going to actually drop the bump down on my shock. I'm going to actually make my bump a 5.5, and I'm going to make my rebound a 5. This is one of the few tracks where I will be changing my right rear shock throughout the night. And it's because this track is so fast, but it's also really flat. You know, there's only like, 7 degrees of banking, and it's basically a horse track. So it was a horse track. So for me, I found that the right rear shock is really, really critical and can really, you know, even slight changes to it can have a pretty, you know, decent sized effect. So I'm going to put 5.5 on the bump, and I'm going to raise the rebound to 5. And then I'll move in this right rear wheel spacing to 17 3/4. Now, I'm going to also move out this left rear to 13.75. So, you know, we've made 5 adjustments, all of which are minor. But the car felt really good in qualifying, and so I don't want to be tinkering with it a bunch. I just want to kind of stay ahead of the track. Now, last thing that we got to do is we got to set our fuel and reset our ride heights. So I'm going to take note to my crossweight. My crossweight is 46.7%. All right. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in 7 gallons of fuel, and now I need to reset my ride heights, okay? My crossweight's still the same, and I want to keep it the same in the heat race. I don't want to be adding or decreasing it. So we're going to go 1/2 turn and 1/2 turn. And that right there is perfect. Okay. Ride height is still at 14.3, 14.4, and we've got 12.6 on the left rear. So we're good. We're ready to run the heat race. So let's go turn a few laps. Now, one thing to note about the heat races at Knoxville, depending on how slick the track is, you'll usually start to see people start moving up to the top. If you can run the top and you're not getting just, freight trained by people on the bottom, then do it. But if you find yourself, starting more towards the back, maybe you didn't have a good qualifying run, trying to run the bottom might be a really good opportunity for you to pick off a couple of cars. Because if everybody's just doing follow the leader in the front, then you're going to find that you can't pass. And the top is not really the top, it's more like the middle at this point. So play around with it. Like I said, you can try to go under the slick. All right, you might have to, put a little bit more wheel in it to stay down. You can also run kind of a slider line. That'll also work. Just make sure that you're not sailing it in at the wrong angle because you'll slide up and hit the wall. Or you can run the top, and then as you catch the cars, then try to undercut them coming out of the corner or do a slide job going into the next one, okay? But let's run a few laps and I'll show you what I'm talking about. And you'll find that if you can just get through the middle of the groove and keep the car straight, you're going to be good. Even if you tap the wall like that, you're going to be good. You really will. When the track is like this, it's really just a matter of keep it straight and smooth. If you can do that, you're going to find yourself having some pretty good results. Now let's see if we can get here on the bottom. We're going to turn in a little bit harder. You can see we actually started to come around there. We're able to save it, but we scrubbed off a little bit of speed. That one we came out pretty good. Let's go to the high side here. Then you can also run this slider line like that, which is also pretty fast, especially when the track is tacky like this.
We're almost out of fuel, but it looks like we'll make it to the end.
And you can hear I'm not lifting at all. We're wide open. In fact, if you have to slow down or something, it's better to just kind of drag the brake a little bit. Do a little trail brake as opposed to letting off the gas, because if you let off the gas, that little, even if you just burp it like that, that will kill your momentum here. So that's running the heat race, right? It's pretty straightforward and simple. Let's go check our lap times real quick and see how we did. And we're running 15 threes, 15 fours. With the one lap, the 15.5, I think that was the one that I messed up on. Is that the one I hit the wall? Yeah, that was the one I got into the wall. So you can see, 15 threes, 15 fours, pretty good times. And if you can run that consistently, you're going to have some good finishes in the heat, right? Just keep your nose clean, keep it straight, and you'll be good to go. Now, here's the big question. What do we do in the feature? Because that's when it gets difficult. Now the track's going to be slick, and you're going to have all of that fuel in the back. How do you handle it? Well, that's what we're going to cover next. So let's head over to the slick track. All right, so we're at Knoxville, 50%, right? This is about where we would be starting the feature. Sometimes it might be less than this. Sometimes it might be more. It's just going to depend on the car count, the temperature, things like that. What I find is that 50% is usually a pretty good spot to test with in terms of kind of finding your base setup for the feature, right? You got your base setup for the track, but then also kind of like your base setup for the feature, that starting point of where you're going to be, in terms of the slick track. Now, you can see that our temperature is pretty close with a lot more humidity in the track. and the temperatures are a little bit warmer. So, the humidity can definitely play a role with the track. As you can see, we've got, some black through the corners there. So we'll see how it is when we get out there. Now, what do we do in terms of setup? Well, here's the thing. I very rarely, even though I have feature setups, I very rarely just load up a feature setup. I'm usually starting with my base and then I adjust through the night. And the reason for that is that the track's always changing. And like I just said, there might be times where the main is about 40%. There might be times at the start of the main where it's 60%. It just depends. And so I like to make adjustments as I go. Now I'll have a feature setup for you to use, okay? But I'm going to show you the adjustments I'm going to make right now. All right, so first things first, I'm going to drop the stagger down. I'm going to drop it down to 13 inches. I like using stagger, okay? That's just me. I don't want to have to turn the car a bunch. Here's the thing. It can be a handful on a slick track sometimes, though. So try this out. Test it. If this doesn't feel good to you, drop the stagger down to 12 inches or so. But I like running stagger even on slick tracks. To me, it makes the car feel better. So we're going to go down to 13 inches. Next, we got some changes to make here. So first thing that we got to do is we're going to get rid of this bar here in the back. All right, we're going to drop that down, and we're going to actually raise up this left front bar too. We're going to go 10 1/4 in the right front, 10 1/4 in the left front. Now in the rear, what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually drop this right rear bar down to a 975. So we're going to run reverse split in the back. This is going to make the car really drive off the left rear with that stiffer bar, and it's going to make it kind of squat more on the right side. It's going to help the car stay more level instead of it just being so winged over like we were doing earlier. The reason we want this is since the track's so slick, we want to make sure that the car is actually getting some grip. We don't want to just go sliding in there winged over and just go all the way up the track. So we're going to put some reverse split in the back. Another thing I'm going to do is I'm going to actually decrease the bump of this right rear shock. I'm going to move that down to 5, and I'm going to increase the rebound to 6. Okay. For my left front shock, I'm going to actually increase the left front to a 5 on the bump and a 3 on the rebound. And on the right front, I'm going to go to a 6, 3. Then on the left rear, we're going to make this a 3, 7 on the left rear shock. Okay. And I'm going to move the left rear out to 14 inches, and I'm going to move the right rear in to 17 inches. All right. So now we've got all of that set. We're good to go. Next thing I'm going to do is we got to get some fuel into this thing. We're going to need 24 gallons. Now that drastically changed our ride heights in the rear, so we got to fix that. So I'm going to reset my ride height, and I want to have between, a half a turn to a full turn difference between the rears, okay? So that's why I always do that. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to go up 1 turn on the right rear and 1 turn on the left rear. And we're not there yet. So we're going to go another full turn on the right rear and another full turn on the left rear. And we're actually a little too high. So now what I'm going to do is my cross weight's at 47.1. That's about where I want it. And so I'm going to take a 1/4 turn out of each. And that puts me basically right where I want this thing to be. Okay? And so now we're all set. We're ready for the feature. Now, there's one last thing to note here. Okay? And I'm going to actually show you this right now. The top wing. I have done a ton of testing and a ton of comparison with this. When it comes to the feature, when you go out, one of the things that I do, and I even know very, very good drivers, like top split, on the cusp of being pros, like that level driver. And even they agree with me, because I was telling people, I'm like, look, move your wing back to, -1 or -2 at the start of the race, because when you have all that fuel, at least go into the corner, that first corner, knowing that the car is going to stick before you go in there sliding all over the place and taking someone out. Once you run a lap or two, it's really easy to just hit a button and move the wing, right? So that's what I like to do, is I like to start with the wing at -2. the other thing that you can do is you can actually, instead of starting it with 24 degrees at -2, you could actually increase the wing angle to 26. I have found these to basically be the same. The more angle that you run with it forward, it's in some testing, it's more advantageous. It just kind of depends on the track and the momentum and stuff that you're carrying, especially with these 410s because they have so much more power than like a 360. The wing doesn't slow you down. It's not the drag on the 410 like it is on the 360. Okay, so you can really do either one. Now I'm going to go 26 right now. We're going to actually run a few laps, and then I'm going to come back. I'm going to put the wing at 24, move it back to, and then I'll show you the difference in the times. Okay. So you can see the track is pretty slick, but we do have some room here. Now, one thing that you'll notice when the feature starts, the track's going to start slicking out a ton. All right. So let's get started here. You see the car's a little loose on entry there with that wing, being forward, but with the more angle. Now, it wasn't nothing that I couldn't get control of. We just got to make sure that we watch ourselves with that bump going into turn 1, because it could be nasty. And look, even if you have it at 26, you can move it back a couple notches. Make sure you're stable. The key is finishing the race. Okay? It's not going to mean anything if you wreck. As you can see, we're just running around the top, wide open, trying to keep it straight. Now, you can also run kind of like a slider line at this track. If you don't want to do it like that, I got a little too sideways. Like that. You can also do that. For me, I like the track to be a little bit more slick before I start running that kind of line. So what I like to do is I just run around the top, and then if I catch someone, then I'll try to put a slider on them. I won't just use a slider line. And in order to run the bottom, you're going to really need the track to be more slick than this, because the speed that you're going to carry around the top is so much greater than the bottom, because you're going to have to let off the gas on the bottom. You're not going to be able to just, run it wide open. It's not going to happen. See, just hitting that stuff, and I rolled out of the throttle. You can see how sideways you got. So you want to make sure that you're running a clean, smooth line, right? And then if you have to go to pass somebody, then you can look to do a slider or change your line or something like that. Just be careful, especially earlier on in the race when you've got all that fuel, because, 24 gallons, that's a lot, and you're going to feel it when you go sailing off into that first corner. So, real quick, let's look at the lap times. You can see we're running low 16s, all right? So 16.0, 16.0, 16.6, that was that one that I messed up on. 16.0, 16.0, almost high 15s. Now, you can see that my laps were just as fast, if not faster, when I moved the wing back. See how that works? Now, let's go back here, and let's just do this. We're going to put the wing to 24, and let's see how much of a difference we get. And I'm going to bring this up just so we can see the comparison as we do it. Alright. I'm not going to pace. Let's just go. Car definitely feels a little less stable. But it's still drivable. It's not like I can't handle it. Now we could also move the wing back a couple more notches. Now I got it back to 4, and you can see that made a huge difference. So much so that I ran into the wall. But now it's almost got a push to it. The car is much more stable. You can see we're about a tenth slower. That lap we were actually running pretty close, but I hit the wall. So you can see running 16.0s, right? I mean, we're right there, same lap times. Even when I'm messing up and hitting the walls, right? 16.0 on that last one. We had a 16.0 before, 16.1, 16.1. So, you know, right there. And so you can see that having the wing at 26 and even moving it back 2 notches is actually better than having the wing at 24, right? And having it back at, you know, having it back at 2 notches or even 4 notches. So you can see that, and look, this last lap, you know, 16.083, that was when the wing was back at 4. So having the car be more stable, especially with these 410s, matters a whole lot more than the drag, okay? The stability really, really matters. And if you can go out and run clean, smooth, consistent laps, you're going to find that 9 times out of 10, you're going to get some really good results. Yeah, there might be those occasions where you get wrecked by somebody or you mess up or, you know, something happens. It happens to everybody. It does. But if you keep doing it over and over and you are consistent and smooth, those results, those good results that you're looking for will come. It's inevitable. So that's going to do it all for this video. Now, really quick, do me a favor. If you like this, please hit the like button and also make sure to subscribe, all right? And when you subscribe, hit that notification bell so you get notified when I put out any more of these videos. Look, I've got a dirt midget one coming, a non-wing one, and a late model one that are going to be coming in the next day and a half. I mean, the week 1's almost over, and I'm going to be getting those out in the next day or so. So make sure that you are subscribed and you have that notification bell on so you know when those come out. You don't want to miss those, especially if you run those cars. All right. And if you want to learn more about, you know, how to drive these things, get better at, you know, being smooth, you know, techniques like trail braking and things like that, learn how to set these up yourself, okay, then head over to Facebook and ask to join the School of Sim Racing private Facebook group. You can also find my Thomas Brandon Gaming School of Sim Racing Facebook page, and you can check that out. I do streaming, put a bunch of content on there as well. All right. And then finally, if you join our group, you can also join our Discord where we put a ton of content in there as well. Plus, we've got an awesome community. We don't have, you know, those sim racing tools that do nothing but shout people down. We don't have that. In fact, it's not allowed. If you do that, you get kicked out. So come over and check it out and join us, you know, build the community so we can actually go out, have fun, enjoy ourselves, and not be, you know, stressed out and ridiculed by the keyboard warriors. They ain't nothing better to do than shout people down in their, you know, de-licensed 305 race. Okay, so anyways, that'll do it. As always, thank you very much for joining me. Until next time, good luck, good racing, take care. I'll see you in the next video, and until then, have a good one.